Hello and welcome back to the Facts of Facts, the only Facts of Life podcast that is maybe grown out of the welterweight division. Let's just say I'm only in gym shorts these days. Welcome back, the Golden Gloves of Facts of Life podcasting. Britt Lundborg, hello. How are you?
Hello. I'm okay.
Are you? You don't feel violated by today's episode?
I don't feel violated. I feel a little annoyed. It took me a really long time to get through this episode. Like 4 hours.
Right? Oh, okay. Me too. Me too. In fact, and this has happened like only 2 other times. One of them was the movie. My hair's going to do all kinds of things because I'm fresh out of the shower for people on video. Yeah. I had a full night's sleep. I woke up. I started doing my notes for the podcast. 9 minutes into this episode, I went and took a nap. And that nap lasted all day. Then I woke up and I was like,
this episode was like a soporific. Like it literally was. It was like you could take all the melatonin and all of the Tylenol PM you want, but you put this episode on, you immediately go to sleep.
It was bad, and you know what? We have to blame Jerry Meyer.
Yeah,
Mayer.
Because so we need to explain what this is. This is round 2.
Yes.
Round 2 of a backdoor pilot attempt to make basically Eastland School for Boys happen.
This is also, it is remarkable. I've seen backdoor pilots before, but I've never seen them do a do-over backdoor pilot, ever.
And again, at this point, we're in season 4. So they're trying to recreate the magic that is Facts of Life with dicks, apparently. And they go with the same boys that we saw in the other backdoor pilot, where it was Joe's friend, the male Joe, right, who goes to Stone Military Academy or whatever, right, and calls her up on the phone to be like, "Hey, Joe, I'm in your neighborhood. You want to come to a dance?" And then it's this big rigmarole of getting to know those characters again, at basically the exact same characters. The rich kid, the black kid.
They got the whole cast.
And the Joe, right? Mm-hmm. They're all boys.
And you know what? I will say this. In the first iteration, they did not impress upon me that Hank was the rich one, i.e. the Blair. But This time, they made sure to outright say it rather than show it in any way, shape, or form. They just told us he's the rich kid. So that's how we know. And we got a Blair, too, just in case we were too subtle.
Yeah. No, and that's the thing. So Dominik, can you inform me, did this actually turn into a new show? Is there a boys version of Facts of Life?
It did not, and this won't be the last time they try.
What a fucking surprise. Really? Basing a backdoor pilot around the weakest, most annoying one, and I have to see him topless and his little girl nipples? I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe that was forced upon me.
I was surprised too.
I couldn't believe I needed to see this little kid who was wearing little Brooks Brothers pinstriped pajamas, and then later on tiny little shorts with his little nipples out and these huge socks, and then he gets punched in the face.
I've been waiting all day.
They were like, "This is going to be this. People are going to tune in for this."
Oh.
Alfred Webster.
I just feel like there had to be some exec at NBC who was like really polite. And when they made this the first time, they were like, "Oh, really good job." It was just that we had such a strong year, so many shows, we just couldn't do it. And he was like, "No problem, we'll do it again next year." So then we'll do it in the middle of the season, and you can just buy it as a mid-season show. Boom, it's done. We're there.
Makes sense. But again, to base this pilot around the most annoying character, the Natalie of the bunch, who then we have to see half naked, it's like shocking.
Yes.
The other great thing is that so, which again apparently is the Stone Military Academy like runner, is that we start every episode at Stone Military Academy on the phone, on the payphone. We did that the last time.
Yeah, that's how it works. One of the boys needs to call one of the Eastland girls in order to get a pilot story going.
Yeah.
Like, that's
Anyway,
the way. That's the magic.
yeah.
Call the magic cafeteria where the cameras always are.
Yeah. So Alfred, who's the fat chubby one.
Before we get into the show,
yeah,
let's just do the background stuff. Azad Kalada, Jerry Mayer. This episode has 2 titles. Some places listed as the Academy 2, Roman numerals. Other places listed as the
Mighty Mouse. Mighty Mouse.
The Big Fight, which is like so annoying because I feel like the Facts of Life girls do have big fights, and when you hear that title, you're like, "Ooh, this is gonna be like, this is Joe versus Blair. It's gonna be," and then it's this, and so yeah, I find I'd rather call it the Academy 2, but they have their own AKA already. So many AKAs. Anyway, so yeah, let's see what else. Yeah, all of the people showed up from the last pilot to this one, which I thought was remarkable that they could get this great gang together again.
It was so many people.
It was so many people.
And no, it was so many people who had almost nothing to do. They didn't give anyone anything to do aside from Alfred. And
Chip in particular.
And deliver information to
terrible.
Alfred, buy Alfred, train Alfred, talk to Alfred, psych him up.
Feed Alfred burgers.
Yeah.
Yes. That is all extremely accurate.
And he's the most annoying one. I can't believe that they were like, this is what we should do.
Yeah. So anyway, I mean, I feel like I kind of can believe it just because the Facts of Life is like, if at first you don't succeed, try to fuck up even more the second time around.
Yeah, fair enough.
Anyway, so Jerry Mayer has 11 more episodes after this one.
Is it the Academy Part 3, the Academy Part 4, 5?
Yeah, it's like
6,
Police
7,
Academy.
8, 9, 10, 11.
Yes,
Did he just
it's like
keep
Police
trying
Academies.
to make this show happen and just go rolling through each individual character?
Yeah, but at least we don't open in the cafeteria.
No, we don't.
We don't even see the cafeteria.
No, it was a shock. Yeah. I actually, at this point, I missed the cafeteria.
Yeah, I did too. Big time. I'm already looking forward to doing next week's episode. I missed the girls. I felt like nobody got much to say.
No. And the worst thing is that, as I said, they based this one around the boy Natalie, the boy version of Natalie. So then the only girl we get most of is Natalie, because she goes over there to see the big fight because she's his girlfriend.
Yeah. So supposedly, yes. Anyway, so it's Alfred is calling Natalie, and he's worried that she doesn't remember him, and I'm worried that we're going to be forced to remember him. Natalie's on the other line in Eastland in the lounge. Everybody's got their phone call spots. She's confirming she remembers Alfred and his lizard fetish.
No, hold on. She said, we discussed the eating habits of lizards in Venezuela.
Yeah.
So I looked up lizards in Venezuela, and there are a few that are really important, but there are a lot of reptiles that, aside from the lizards in Venezuela, that are important that I just wanted to highlight for a moment.
I want you to. Including
the puffing bird snake, the Paraguayan brown gecko, the machete savan, the highwoods coral snake, the Zulia toad-headed side-necked turtle, the rainbow whiptail lizard, and the false coral snake.
Well, I guess if it looks like coral and then it's not, it's a snake.
No, but there was the high woods coral snake.
Anyway. Maybe these are just two different woods.
Maybe. Anyway, I thought that, to be honest, to be perfectly honest, if I were on a date with Alfred and he whipped out all of these Venezuelan reptiles and facts about them, I would be very turned on. I think that's actually fascinating.
Does your husband talk to you about lizards?
He takes out his lizard.
Touche. So Alfred is played by, I'm not going to go through deep bios for the people that we've seen before, but I'll just remind you in case you don't want to go back to episode 22 of season 3, where we discussed this the first time they tried this. But John P. Navin Jr., who did this, Give Me a Break, Silver Spoons, he was the one who was in the pilot of Cheers, where he was the first patron at the bar.
Yes.
Yes, 83 saw him break into movies with Losing It and National Lampoon's Vacation. And he had a regular role on Jennifer Slept Here, which is that sitcom about the dead actress that lives with a family. And after that, he basically did nothing. And I looked and I could not really find any info on him. But oh, look, so you're gonna see me scroll. I'm gonna do a flip. So everybody, hold on tight.
Oh God!
Camera's
oh
gonna
no!
flip.
Oh
Okay.
God! Oh,
Whoa! I don't know. How'd that work for everybody?
That was exciting. I felt like I was on a ride, to be perfectly honest.
Well, cool. I feel like it's a little bit better. I'm trying a new setup, guys. If you haven't noticed, and it can go upside down. It's really cool. Anyway, Alfred decided he wanted to take his and Natalie's relationship to the next step. Natalie wants to know what that might be. Obviously worried that her reputation as Natalie Green, the blowjob queen, has spread all the way to Stone Academy. But no such luck. Alfred's in a tournament, and he wants to know if Natalie would like to come down and watch him mix it up, which Natalie immediately believes means he's in a bake-off because cake.
No, because mixing.
Yeah, and cake is the first thing on her mind.
Yes, that's true. I mean, here's the thing. If it were a bake-off, Natalie she wouldn't have had to have been convinced by all the other people in the room with her to go to this boxing event. If it were a bake-off, she would have been there immediately.
That is true. I love a bake-off. I mean, everybody's trying to make the best things. Like, nobody's phoning it in. It's going to be great pastries across the board.
I mean, at the beginning of this pandemic, I baked you croissant for our trip to Paris. So I am
so delicious and delightful.
Listen, it's been a bake-off for 9 months in this house.
It's funny.
Me competing against myself.
You baked me croissants, which were amazing. And then we both were dreading doing the Go to Paris movie podcast for so long that we dragged it out until I'd eaten every last croissant that was there, and I couldn't show them off in the podcast. But they were delicious. Anyway, Natalie checks her schedule, loudly complaining about the ask out with her phone to her chest, where I feel like she could hear that. He could hear that.
Of course he could. And she's like, let me check my schedule. And then turns around and looks at everyone. And then, does she hang up or does she have this whole conversation with everyone else?
Whole conversation.
Yeah, so she's holding the phone to her chest. The other girls and Mrs. Garrett are sitting there doing a puzzle, right? And, and literally every single one of them says something along the lines of, hey, is that Alfred from Stone Academy on the phone? Is that Alfred? Yes, it's Alfred from Stone Academy on the phone. It's Alfred. Why is he on the phone? But it's Alfred. It's Alfred.
I love that Mrs. Garrett was like, oh, Alfred from Stone Academy. Like, she just, like, on the tip of her tongue.
And then Tootie's like, well, what does Alfred from Stone Military Academy want? Alfred wants to ask me on a date to Stone Military Academy. What kind of date did Alfred ask you on at Stone Military Academy? And she's like, well, a boxing match. And then Joe's like, well, that's a great date. And then because I guess, Actors Guild rules, Blair has to say something.
And she says something, all right.
She says, you would.
She says 300 boys and only one you. She likes those romantic odds. Yeah. Literally pointing out, like, hey, go there, accept the date, blow the guy off, and then have a gangbang with all of his classmates. Yeah. That's what I would do. And I'm beautiful and popular.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
However, here's the thing. She goes out of her way to insult the fact that Joe thinks that going to a boxing match would be a good date.
Of course.
Because, for no reason. But
they have to get their personalities out as much as they can in one line or two.
So can you tell me the exact date that this episode ran?
Actually, yes, I can. It was December 8th, I believe, because I remember being like, well, this is like right around now, but 1982.
Okay. So the reason why I think that this was boxing related, aside from the fact that they were trying to spin this into, a spin-off for the Boys Academy, is that there was an extremely huge boxing match that year in the middle of the summer. It was it set the record for richest live gate in history. $7 million that night with a total haul of over $40 million. It was Jerry Cooney and Larry Holmes. And it was a very racially tinged fight and promotion because it was Cooney was being cast as the Great White Hope because he was a white dude and he was going against a black dude. So it was all these people were crowded into a Las Vegas parking lot of a hotel to see this huge match. And it got so bad that white nationalists threatened to shoot Holmes during the match as soon as he entered the ring. And then black supporters were like, okay, well now we're going to shoot Cooney if you shoot Cooney, if you shoot our guy. And then it was like this massive problem. And so, but it was like a really big deal. So that I get why this was like a focus for this episode. But
how far we've come as a society now.
But again, I think that Blair turning her nose up at boxing is kind of like a weird thing, like incorrect thing for Blair, because boxing is unbelievably lucrative. Like on May 2nd, 2015, the Mayweather-Pacquiao fight generated $600 million.
Well,
nothing to sneeze at, Blair.
Good enough reason to, push Alfred into a life of getting beaten up.
But also, boxing was kind of in the air because Rocky had won Best Picture in 1976 or 1977. So
that air is 5 years old. In that time, those kids were, they were still, glints in Jerry Mayer's eye.
Okay.
But maybe. But I will say that the minute that Blair suggests that Natalie ditch Alfred and find 300 other men to enjoy.
to blow.
Natalie just licks her lips and is like, hello, Alfred.
Yes.
Which, so anyway, Natalie's still thirsty. But she goes on the condition that Alfred does not get hurt. But as he badly acts on the phone, he's a seasoned gladiator, so everything should be just fine.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing about Alfred. He literally looks as though he was formed out of uncooked cookie dough.
Yes, he's very doughy.
He doesn't look as though he could fight anyone. It looks as though Natalie could beat him up.
Oh, but Natalie could beat up everybody but Joe. I think it goes Natalie, Joe, Tootie, Blair, Mrs. Garrett. Anyway, so now we're in the dorm room, but not the one you're thinking. We're in the Stone Military Academy dorm room. This is very exciting, and there's palpable sexual energy in the air.
No.
Okay. So, Reve plays.
Yes.
I had to look that up, how to pronounce that.
It means to wake up in French.
Ooh la la. Don't make me send you back to Paris. It plays outside as the boys just continue having their wet dreams, and then
so that
George
is
Knight.
That's a typical bugle call in military practice, and there are a lot of different bugle calls.
We
There's
learned about
taps, there's this.
earlier, later
Right,
on
yeah.
today.
Anyway, so in comes, all the boys are sleeping. One of them randomly has, which I assume is Alfred because he's on the top bunk and he's wearing these blue pajamas.
With a shirt underneath.
And his whole leg is hanging off the bunk.
That's acting.
Yes. And so in comes the bugler, Knight, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he comes in and plays Reveille in the room.
How dare he?
And then is it Buzz or is it Hank? Which one's the
Buzz wakes up.
Buzz wakes up and he goes, "Ooh, I love these wake-up calls."
No, Buzz doesn't say that. Knight says that.
Oh, Knight says that.
Yeah, but Buzz wakes up and is like, "What are you doing blowing this kazoo in here?" Something like that. Yeah. And then Knight is like, yeah, it's so creepy. He just literally he shudders and announces how much he gets off on waking these boys up. And I get it, but keep that inside.
Yeah.
And Knight is, I'll quickly, Knight is played by Peter Fraschetti, who we did everybody's bio, but shorthanding, he was in Grease 2 as DiMucci. And his last role was a 2-episode stint on Devious Maids in 2016. And then Buzz is the dreamy Jimmy Baio of soap fame and also of publicly mocking his Trump-loving brother fame. Love me some Jimmy Baio. Jimmy, call me. We'll have you on anytime.
Anyway, so in comes Knight, and he's like, he wakes everyone up, and he says, "I love these wake-up calls." And he's like, "Well, and he's like, what are you blowing that kazoo here for?" And he goes, Knight says, "Why am I wasting time in here? I could be off polishing my bugle."
Yes. He says that in a moment, but yes, he does. And that is shocking. We have to wait for Chip to enter before he says that.
Ah, yes.
But yes, shocking masturbatory joke that nobody was asking for, but was not even thinly veiled.
No, he not only came in, creeped in to a little boy, a child's bedroom to wake them up. He then made a joke about jerking off.
Yeah. And I get it, but again, indoor thoughts or inside thoughts. So yeah, but beyond that, when he goes near Hank is like, "Don't touch me," which to me tells me that Knight has a history of maybe waking these guys up by yanking on their wieners.
Mm-hmm.
That was the vibe I got from Knight. Now it's not confirmed, but that's because we only got 2 episodes.
That's true.
If we got more,
he polishes other people's bugles.
Yes,
and blows their kazoos. Blows their kazoos.
Yeah, exactly. Hank is the rich one, but you really can't tell. They just say it once. Whereas Buzz is the Joe. Hank was played by Ben Morley, whose early roles include Jaws 2 and The Chicken Chronicles. And his later roles include golfer number 2 in an episode of Yes Dear. So it went just the way he thought. And then Chip enters to opine about how much he loves to raise a flag and watch the red, white, and blue ripple across the sky or whatever. I have as much patience for Chip as Buzz does, who says, "I got your flag."
Wait, is Chip the Tootie?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Chip is played by David Rayner, who got his start playing young Scott Joplin in the Scott Joplin Story. He retired from acting in 1993, became a director. He directed Whatever It Takes in 2000, and then also Christmas in Compton in 2012. And I know, Britt, you are a huge fan of Christmas movies. Have you seen Christmas in Compton?
I haven't.
Put it on the list.
Movies. I will put it on the list. We did watch some of Elf last night, so,
It's interesting. Somewhere I had a dream about the movie Elf. It was on a list. I'm not even kidding. Last night, I can't. It's not a good story. It's just true. There was something I was gonna ask you about with your movie list. Oh, did you watch? Just curious, because it aired today. The Kentucky Fried Chicken Mario Lopez Lifetime movie.
No, I didn't.
It's worth your 15 minutes.
Okay.
Anyway, so.
But going back to that, I actually heard that, and because I don't act for. I don't eat meat, so I don't actually care about KFC.
Corn and mashed potatoes.
I don't like those things either. Anyway.
You like corn? I love corn.
I mean, it's okay. I don't seek it out.
You could pop it. You could eat it
Okay,
on the
I do
cob.
like popcorn. I do like popcorn. Anyway, thank you for forcing me to admit that on our podcast.
I knew you liked corn.
Anyway, I did read that so everyone was going crazy about this Mario Lopez, Colonel Sanders who fucks infomercial fake, movie, whatever. I did see a headline that said that the actual Colonel Sanders was like seriously horny on Maine.
That makes sense. I think they have that on the napkin.
Horny on Maine.
So anyway, Knight is all about Chip. He says he's got the gung-ho spirit. Shame it doesn't rub off on the rest of them. To which Chip rubs his arm and says, "Sorry, Knight, it doesn't rub off." So obnoxious. It was, Chip is the worst of this whole situation. Chip is the worst.
No, Alfred is the worst.
You don't like nerds. I think he's.
Of course I like nerds. I'm a nerd and I'm married to a nerd. Please, don't.
Please, you're not a nerd and you're not married to a nerd. You live in a little hipster fantasy world where you think you're nerds because you got glasses.
I'm not wearing glasses right now, and you wear glasses.
Only when I remember and I'm driving. Anyway, so yes, then Knight leaves to polish his bugle for real. I can't believe he said that. It was insane. So Alfred hops out of bed in his old man business pajamas, calls Knight a jerk behind his back because he's weak.
Yes, he is weak.
And then Hank has on some very short shorts, which I did not mind.
Extremely short.
Yeah.
Which again, I have trouble. I have a little bit of like a low grade case of face blindness. So the only reason I could actually, sorry, my cats are being very obnoxious right now. The only reason I could tell Hank and Buzz apart was because of those shorts.
See, Buzz to me is like sex on a stick. Like Buzz stands out, but that's just because I grew up watching him as on Soap.
Yeah.
Where on Soap he had an affair with his teacher, and I was like around the same age as he was when I watched it, and I was like, this is friggin' hot. And so, and I think he's cute. I like this like little my little accent. So I was always a Jimmy Bayo fan since I was like 11.
So he was sort of like, he was like Pacey on Dawson's Creek, who also had an affair with his teacher.
Yes, everything that's been done has been done on Soap. Soap burned through storylines faster than any show on the planet. 17 amazing things happened per 22-minute episode every week. It was crazy. Whereas, if you ever want to do a Soap podcast, that only has 4 seasons. We'd almost be done by now.
but here's the thing. Those podcasts would take 9 hours to record because so many things happen.
Yeah, it's true.
Whereas Facts of Life barely manages to make one thing happen per episode.
And we get 2 hours. Which is why there are
so many seasons of this show. It's like Soap is like concentrate.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But it's so good. It's like, when you like have like grape drink concentrate and you're just like it's frozen in the can and you're just like, I'm just gonna have this as an intense giant popsicle. Sorry guys, this is
I never do
juice
that.
now.
Also, grape? Come on, Jesus.
Oh, I love grape juice. Maybe I'll get some grape juice tonight. Anyway, so Alfred hops out of bed. And Hank looks at the books Alfred is holding, and one of them is apparently called Learn to Box.
I know. So, okay. What? Who can learn to box from a book?
I don't know, but if you could, what would you name it?
How to Box.
Well, this is learn to box.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I mean, maybe. Maybe.
Really? Because you don't think you need to, say, have a sparring partner or someone to punch towards your face
Yes,
and
these
torso?
things sound accurate. I will give you that.
It's sort of like you can learn to, dance, I suppose, from a book, but to dance with a person, you need a partner.
Wise words. Alfred tells the boys what we already know, that he entered the Interbarracks Boxing Championship. He resents that his friends think he couldn't take care of himself just because he has a Mighty Mouse nightlight.
Can I pause you right there?
Sick burn! Please.
So, did you ever watch Mighty Mouse?
Yes.
Did you watch the original?
Probably.
You mean the one that was on from 1955 to 1967?
No.
Or do you mean the new adventures of Mighty Mouse and Heckle and Jekyll, which was on from 1979 to 80?
Maybe.
So that is the one that was created by Ralph Bakshi, who did Cool World, which is unwatchable. But listen, my husband and I recently tried to watch it during quarantine.
I literally had a conversation with somebody 2 days ago about how bad it was. He brought it up, not me.
Anyway, so the new adventures of Mighty Mouse and Heckle and Jekyll introduced two new characters. A vampire duck named Quackula.
Yes.
And
that's the one I watched.
And Oil Can Harry, who is the villain cat. Oil Can Harry's new bumbling large but swift running henchman Swifty, who's this big fat cat who looks very sweet. Anyway, I watched that one. But the other funny thing is that there is this episode's about boxing. There is an actual MMA fighter, mixed martial arts, named Mighty Mouse, named Demetrius Johnson. And the reason he's called that is because he's 5'3".
Oh, adorable.
Yeah.
Did I go through everybody? I did all the actors, right?
Yes.
All right. I know. Okay, so then Hank informs Alfred as well as the audience that his hero is Albert Einstein, not Sugar Ray. And then Buzz, please help me out on this. Because I Googled it and I couldn't figure it out, but maybe I was Googling the wrong things. But Buzz tells him, think about 32 tiny graves, and inside of them, 32 tiny teeth. What the fuck does that mean?
He's going to get his teeth knocked out. All of them.
Graves?
What?
And they're going to be in little tiny graves?
I guess. I found that actually quite evocative. But there is a very crazy thing that comes up soon that we need to discuss.
Okay. I found that bizarre, but I'm glad that it evoked you.
It didn't evoke me. I found it evocative.
I know. I was just play on words. Somehow the tiny teeth and tiny graves argument does not work on Alfred because his mind is already made up and his girl's coming to watch the event and his dad is coming too. This seems like a terrible idea.
Yeah, it is a terrible idea. But they're like, as soon as he says that Natalie, his girl, is coming, the boys are like immediately congratulate him for getting pussy. They're like, oh, really? Here's the thing. We do know that Natalie is down to clown.
Yeah, for sure. No doubt.
She's coming to see, her little baby pseudo boyfriend, Alfred, but like she's going to dump his ass and get railed by 200 other guys.
But then she sees his magical little girl Nips and she's like, all right, let's go on a date.
Yeah.
That's the moral of the story. Show girls your girly Nips. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so we learn that Alfred's dad is a military man.
He's a general.
Yes, which explains his presence at the school.
Yeah.
Alfred tells his friends to only salute to his dad if they want to. He's totally chill.
He's a very cool. He's like a cool general. You know. He'll let you have a little alcohol at lunch.
He's fun.
But just do it in the house, sweetheart. Yeah.
Buzz prefers his undemanding drunk father, which does sound preferable.
For sure.
Apparently, Alfred's dad suggested this tournament, but he's also known to say,
yes. What does he say? What does he say that makes total sense to little girls who are watching a show, a spin-off, a potential spin-off in 1982? What does he say that would resonate with them?
what's the point in having the highest IQ in the state if you can't dare some loudmouth to knock a flashlight battery off your shoulder? That is so specific and so long. It's so long. And apparently he said it more than once.
No. Okay. So I had to go back a few times to be like, what on earth can he, like, what is he talking about? Do you know what he's talking about?
Do you? I don't.
Yes. Yes.
I'm so happy. Please tell me.
Okay. This is a fucking wild ride. So I wrote down, Alfred then says something completely unintelligible about knocking a flashlight battery off your shoulder, right? I was like, is this a saying? Is this a real thing? I was like, what could that possibly be? Okay, so it's an actual reference to a real commercial that aired in 1978 for Ever Ready batteries that starred Robert Conrad, who was most well known for playing James T. West on the series Wild Wild West. And he was also in Mannix, and he had a role on Mission Impossible. But the commercial is this older gentleman, Robert Conrad, who is like riding a dirt bike, and it's like vroom vroom, and he comes like over like a hill or something, and then he's like, this flashlight battery is so strong you can't knock it off my shoulder. And he says, this is the power cell that dares to compare.
The fuck?
Yeah. Anyway, so this sent me down a weird rabbit hole. I was like, Robert Conrad. I was like, who is that? And I was asking my husband, and he was like, yeah, that rings a bell. He was like, and of course, because Peter's like, fucking Mr. Genius, he's like, oh yeah, he was on the Wild Wild West. He portrayed James T. West. They made that movie, The Wild Wild West, with Will Smith. He played the Robert Conrad part. And I was like, oh, okay. So this guy was fairly well known. So Robert Conrad he had a bit role in Jingle All the Way, that Schwarzenegger Christmas movie about like basically adults wrestling one another to find a Tickle Me Elmo or whatever the fuck it was, a Cabbage Patch Doll or whatever. Anyway, but the other funny thing is that he was in a very famous song by Richard Marx. He was in the music video for Hazard.
He was in the song? Like,
no,
did
he
he
was
have
in the
a
music
monologue?
video for Hazard, which went #1 in 13 countries. I listened to it.
Marx.
I listened to it, and it was like the most banal, Richard Marx-like song. Anyway, I was like,
Marx.
why on earth would he be in this music video? Why? Because Robert Conrad took vocal lessons from Richard Marx's father and released a number of rock singles under the name Bob Conrad.
When?
In I think in the 70s.
Okay. That's amazing.
So again, let's just recap what I just brought up.
Please.
This little show that is a backdoor pilot for a show about little boys in a military academy made a reference to a commercial that aired in 1978 for batteries.
Yes. And also that Robert Conrad has a career as a musician and appeared in a Richard Marx video. That's just also interesting.
It's like, I feel like Charlie Day, the Charlie Day meme of him smoking with all of the little red, threads trying to connect
what does it mean?
This information.
Does it mean that Buzz and Hank will convince him to not be in the tournament.
Exactly.
It's a code. Anyway, Hank says that they'll support him.
Yep.
Buzz comes up with the idea to sneak a roll of dimes into his glove and kill the guy. Hank puts the brakes on that fast.
Yeah.
Ever the schemester, Buzz wants to gamble on the fight. Also, we learned that Alfred weighs 132 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
So people in his division are super skinny freaks and tiny people. So Alfred's feeling pretty good. He can do this. But Chip, who sucks, says that Knight will run Buzz's lungs up the flagpole. Ugh, terrible visual.
What does that mean?
If Buzz gets caught gambling,
he will run his lungs.
Knight will rip Buzz's lungs out, tie him to the flagpole, hoist him up.
But again, lungs. I feel like balls was in there to begin with, and then they went and they were like, actually, we can't say that on this show for little boys.
I bet it was nuts, and they were like,
yeah,
you can say nuts. It's like peanuts. It's nuts. What's the matter? It's nuts. I'm sure that conversation took place.
Yeah,
you're absolutely right.
And then they were like, no, we can't say that. We definitely can't say that nuts. That's way too disgusting.
I want to go back now. I think that they might have said nuts and they just dubbed in lungs because they were like, hell no.
And then they were like, no, we definitely can't say that. We can't say that. But we should come up with an alt for that. I guess we should go with lungs. But definitely 100% keeping that thing about the flashlight battery.
It's gold. It's gold.
That's the line of
gotta
the episode.
Go. It's gotta. So they agree they're going to start whipping Alfred's body into shape, but in secret, so everybody thinks he's still a cream puff, not the muscle god that he's destined to become by the weekend. And Alfred takes umbrage with that and decides to flex, make Hank grope his bicep, which Hank obliges.
Yeah.
And then I took a nap.
And he grabs it and he goes, and he grabs it, he feels his muscle and he goes, make a muscle. Wah, wah.
Poor guy. Anyway, classic Azad transition. Dorm room later on in the same dorm room.
Whoa. Dominik.
Yeah.
It's completely different. There's a blue mat on the ground.
Oh, okay. Also, it could be any time. We literally don't know what time has passed. They do tell us eventually.
The other thing is that so Alfred's doing his push-ups. He's like 12, 13, 13 and a half. And then in come all the boys, the other boys, who are in their uniforms. Alfred's in his sweatpants, and he's like 79, 80. And again,
if he's going to lie, why not do 99, 100?
Okay, yeah, but also,
weird number to go to, but go on.
Why isn't he in class?
Everybody's got different schedules. Alfred seems 7 years younger than everybody else. I don't know. We learned that it's been a few days. Chip is impressed because before he could only do 13 push-ups, and Chip is easily tricked. Buzz takes credit for the room turning into a gym.
Yeah.
Hank points out it smells like one too, and they definitely got that right. I can smell this episode.
Really? An all-boys school? You can smell it from here?
Yeah. I don't mind it. Smells like my apartment. Chip, who's who still sucks a few days into the future. What I wrote in my notes says boxing is great for soldiers because if you accidentally drop your rifle, you're ready for that hand-to-hand combat.
Yeah.
Does Chip ever say anything of consequence in this episode?
Does Tootie ever?
Good point. Also, Alfred's t-shirt tucked into his sweatpants.
Wow, it was a look. It actually looked as though he pulled those pants up to right under his little girl tits.
Yeah. He has had some boxing lessons, so he's going to impart his stupid wisdom. It's all in the mind.
Yeah.
Buzz interrupts to say, what does a rich kid know about boxing? And right there, after 2 episodes, that is how we know that Hank is the rich kid. He is the Blair. It is official, and that's how good of a storyline they made it.
Yeah, and he says, our mansion was in a very rough neighborhood.
Oh, hilarious.
Hilarious.
Chip awkwardly walks over to say the key to bodybuilding is to tear down and then rebuild the muscle thing. And then Hank chastises him for freaking him out. How did he freak Alfred out with that? That's just...
I don't know. They're all basically just giving him different points of view. Like, you should play. It's a mind game. It's a mind game. You need to, but you need to work on your physical fitness. You need to get your muscles up. And then Buzz is like, he's like, no. He's like, you need to carbo load. Start eating these hamburgers. The hamburgers.
Hamburgers, Big Macs, and spaghetti.
Yeah. Normal.
I checked.
Normal food for training.
I mean, it's normal food for like me. I would eat that.
Yeah, but are you planning on boxing anyone?
Butt boxing. That's what I've decided to call sex.
Butt boxing.
Yeah. Anyway, I do wrestle with my cat. We don't have sex, but I have some scars on my hand to prove it. It's interesting. So now I thought perhaps McDonald's, because I know McDonald's had introduced spaghetti. Did you know this?
No.
So they did, but it was in 1989.
Ah.
Yeah, and they had three options. They had McLasagna, McSpaghetti, and meatballs, and McFettuccine Alfredo.
Oh my God.
Putting some of those pieces together, Alfred. Methinks they were Mick-inspired by this episode. But anyway, everyone piles on and forces Alfred to say what they want. Hank says think, like he's the king of the jungle, while Chip berates him to tear down and build up that muscle. And Buzz feeds him a Big Mac, and I wish Buzz would feed me a Big Mac. No hands, just put a Big Mac in my mouth. Jimmy Bayo, I want it. No pickles, please.
No, yeah, you're very anti-pickle.
I'm not very anti-pickle, but like I just feel like there's enough pickle in the sauce. I don't need more pickle. It's just gonna flop out, swap me on the chin. I'm not gonna know that I got sauce in my beard. Now I want to.
Dominik, you always have sauce in your beard.
I do always have sauce.
So let's not dance around that.
Last night I went to bed and I went like this, and there was just like dinner in my beard, and it had been like 2 hours. And I was like, Greg, that's my cat. Why don't you tell me? He didn't tell. He was just like, whatever. Anyway, so Buzz sticks Big Macs in his mouth, and then we're out, and now we're in a new scene.
Oh my God. We're in a new scene. We're in a place I've never seen before.
Pretty exciting.
So it is pretty exciting. However, again, if this was a success, if the network was like, I love this, like, this is a great idea.
Was this even thinking that could happen?
Was this gym and the boxing ring going to be a crucial part of this boy's facts of life?
I mean, if we have Mongo stories.
Yeah.
But we'll get to him anyway. Major Dorsey, remember him?
Not
Played
really.
by David Aykroyd, no relation apparently. He's of Aftermath fame. He enters the gym and asks a cartoonishly sexified lady if she's done with all of the physicals, and she's like, "Yeah, it's the strangest thing. All the kids have boners. I think there's some kind of like boner disease going on."
And
Who
he's like,
is this sexy
I
lady?
also have boner disease.
For this lady?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Her name? She was, you know what she was? They basically, Azad Kalata shot her basically like Hot Lips from MASH.
Yeah.
Like, she was so, like, aggressively, like,
sexified.
Auga, big titties, red lips, like, a lot of eye makeup for being, like, the school nurse.
It was, I mean, they were like, we only have one girl on this show, so we got to get the guys who only watch for boobs.
Yeah.
Sexy nurse.
Yeah.
That's what we didn't have last time. Anyway, let's talk about her. So she's Nurse Barbara Burton. Yeah, she's Nurse Barbara Burton, played by actress Barbara Stock. This is actually her second gig after 2 episodes of Chips, where she played Officer Paula Woods. She go on to do a TJ Hooker, 2 Fantasy Islands, a Remington Steele, where she played the vaginally named Kitty Curtin.
Ooh.
Yes. She was on the A-Team, Knight Rider, Moonlighting. She had like a very specific line of work that she did. And then a bunch of TV movies, 2 Murder She Wrote, where she played Daniela Morgana Carmody. And she also became a regular on Spencer for Hire. And she spent most of her time doing other similar crime shows like MacGyver, Father Dowling Mysteries, Dallas, Pacific Station. She went back to her medical roots on Baywatch, where she played Dr. Myers. And
Kitty
yeah,
Kitty curtains is what I call my labia.
I feel like most women should. Um, so the late 90s saw her as a regular on Port Charles. She also did a Charmed, and the TV movie The Princess and the Marine closed out her career, and she's now an interior designer. I checked
Oh.
out her website. It's
Yeah.
barbarastockdesign.com, which is, I'll spell hose for you. It's barbarastockdesign.houzz.com. You can check in with her. I'm sure she'd be happy to answer questions about like where her character was going to go, how many times she blew Jimmy Bayo on set. Lots of questions I have personally. I'm not going to ask,
Yep.
but I encourage you to do so.
Anyway, so the school nurse has been giving physicals to all these little boys, presumably measuring their penises and sticking her finger up their asses as well, because you can't be anything more than thorough before letting little children beat one another to death. And Buzz comes in and hits on her.
Yes. Dorsey sees that Alfred. I have that. Yeah, he makes a rapey joke about how he saw her in his wet dream from last night. And she seems on the cusp of letting him make a move, honestly. If this show went to series, they would definitely become a thing. Dorsey sees Alfred signed up to box, and he seems quite worried. Make sure Alfred knows what he's doing. Alfred name drops his dad, the general, and Dorsey's like, okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
I thought it was weird. The nurse asks Buzz if he's boxing, but no, these are boys. He comes from a world of men, naked power, raw, unchained force. I don't know if it's working on Nurse Barbara, but it worked on me.
Yeah. And then she sniffs, and it's like, boxing disgusts me.
What a weird thing for a nurse to say to a student on the day of the boxing weigh-in or whatever the fuck this is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we learned from Hank. That's what made me think they're gonna do it. That was
I mean, they're the disgusting will they won't they couple of the with the cool pedophile storyline for the Facts of Life spinoff.
Well, Jimmy Bayo had a pedophile storyline on Soap. That was several years before this. So he was like,
I got this.
Yeah, he was like, I would say he was probably 2 or 3 years younger when he had sex with a like 30-year-old woman on Soap. But that's Soap. This is Facts of Life. They do different things. So we learn from Hank and Chip that Grusky is up against Alfred first. Alfred is psyched. He goes up to see the wiry Grusky, tells him to stand back because he's dangerous.
Yeah, he says, keep your distance, I'm dangerous. And he has like, he's this big gangly kid, very skinny, with like those, the wire metal glasses that they always make pedophiles wear on TV shows in the 80s. And he's this tall kid, very wiry, and he's holding this, just what base is like a barbell that has like very small weights at the end.
Yes, it's tiny barbell.
It's very small, but he's like, I already dropped this thing twice. Stay away. I'm dangerous.
Yeah.
And Alfred looks at him like, I'm going to fuck you up.
But that was not Grusky's voice. Grusky's voice is this.
Okay.
It's insane. He's like one of those computer nerds from Just One of the Guys. Ridiculous. So Grusky is actually the third actor from Grease 2 to be in this episode for some reason. He's also in Grease 1. He excited now? He's in both Greases.
Yeah, well, I think the last time we discussed Grease 2, you admonished me for never having seen it.
Well, I'm not even like a huge fan. It's just like everybody I know who has seen it adores it as not like an ironic thing, but it's like a little bit ironic and a little bit love. And I've seen it once and I wasn't part of that thing. I'd never seen Grease 1. I still don't think I have. And so it was just more like there's a cult out there. So I'm not admonishing you. I'm just surprised knowing the weird shit that you and your husband watched that you had not tried it out. That's all.
I can't even get him to watch Grease 1.
Me neither. Grusky is played by Eddie Deason, who, if you check out his IMDb picture, has not changed a bit. He's making a goofy nerd face with glasses in his picture, and it's like real up close, like, hi. Yeah, and so let's see here. So his role as Eugene in Grease, I don't know if that rings a bell. It was one of his first gigs. He also shows up in Zapped with Fuck Steve, a few other FOL alum, Nancy, and he plays Malvin in War Games, and he's also Sphincter in A Polish Vampire in Burbank. Have you seen this?
No.
So I actually have a friend who's a real cinephile, and he has seen it, says it's fantastic. The writer and director of A Polish Vampire in Burbank, which is about a nerdy vampire whose sexpot sister takes him out for a night on the town.
In Burbank?
I'm assuming. This writer and director of this movie also went on to write and direct such classics as Death Row Game Show, Curse of the Queer Wolf, Nudist Colony of the Dead, and Rectuma.
I would watch any of those. I'm actually a little here's the thing, Dominik, I'm a little disappointed that you didn't tell me any of this information when we were still in Shocktober, because we're in Christmas town now, and I cannot watch any Halloween movies, and I would have watched all of those during Shocktober.
I'm definitely gonna watch Nudist Colony of the Dead because I gotta.
That sounds really good.
Yeah. Like, how could it be good? How could it be bad? I heard Death Row Game Show is the best of the bunch.
Okay.
Just in case you do decide to go down this rabbit hole next October.
And he plays Sphincter in that one?
Yes, he plays Sphincter in A Polish Vampire in Burbank.
Okay.
That which was his first movie that got this guy on the scene. And he now tours the circuit teaching young film students how to make movies on a budget. Goes to film school, so he seems legit.
Okay.
And in fact, his latest opus, The Deceased Won't Desist, comes out next year.
Still creating. That's great.
Yeah. Anyway, back to Sphincter. He went on to play Eddie on 12 episodes of Punky Brewster. Eddie's his name. Cherry also played Cherry on Punky Brewster. It is weird how they were just like, just call the kids by their names. I can't be bothered to know two names for these children. Anyway, he was in Critters 2, Assault of the Killer Bimbos, and by the late 80s, he got mixed up in the world of Dorf. He did Dorf's Golf Bible, and he did Dorf Goes Auto Racing.
I don't know what Dorf is.
You don't know what Dorf is?
No.
Oh my God, can you get your husband down here to explain Dorf for us?
No.
So Dorf is a guy, I forget,
Here's the thing.
It's like a semi-famous actor who would stand on his knees with shoes on his knees, so he'd be like a tiny guy, and then he would do things like make golfing videos and fishing videos and stuff. He was like almost Ernest adjacent. He was like for like slightly older people, and there would be infomercials all the time as a kid for these Dorf videos. And for a while, when I was like, you know, a hipster buying his clothes at like the dollar stores and the secondhand shops, all the VHS was Dorf. Just Dorf everywhere. Everybody was like, why did we like this?
Do you mean
Dorf is a thing you gotta look up?
Do you mean this Miller Lite t-shirt you're wearing right now?
That I got from Ross Dress for Less.
Okay.
So shortly thereafter, Eddie Deason found the lucrative world of voice work, where he did Darkwing Duck, Goof Troop, Eek the Cat, Real Monsters, Scooby-Doo, and Arabian Nights, but he still did some live-action stuff. He played Rancor God that got spit on in Spy Hard, and he also played Guy boarded up in the wall for 4 episodes of The Weird Al Show.
I didn't even know that The Weird Al Show existed. How many episodes of that is there?
I think there's 13. I vaguely remember it. I think it was MTV or maybe even weirdly VH1.
Okay.
I
I'm
did not look too deeply into it. But just the fact that he played Guy Boarded Up and Wall with no name for 4 episodes pleases me. Now it's all SpongeBob and Transformers with his voice work. And now we're done with Sphincter, unless you have any more things to say about him.
I was going to say that I think that we should refer to him as Sphincter for the rest of this episode.
Done.
Okay.
So what was the thing that we made you refer to Mrs. Garrett as in one, and you did it the whole episode? I can't remember what it was.
I don't know.
All right. Well, we'll move on from that. So aside from that stint as at Food Giant, Sphincter hasn't done much boxing before. Hank walks over and chastises Alfred for fraternizing with the enemy. He's vicious and mean. Sphincter offers to change. I like Sphincter. I'm glad he had an interesting career.
Yeah, I didn't mind him.
Not glad I had to see him with his shirt off. How old would you guess Sphincter is in this episode?
40.
He is 25. A full 10 years older than Alfred and his little girl breasts. So Knight salutes Major Dorsey, which he apparently doesn't have to do because Dorsey is not in uniform. But later on, when Dorsey is in uniform, Knight doesn't salute him.
Yeah.
The fuck, guys.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Mean, again, the inconsistency is, kind of Azad Kalada's thing.
True. Knight is not there to box. Unless he injures his bugling lip or his kiss-ass lip or whatever he wants to call it.
Yeah.
But he's there to train Mad Dog Michael Mongo Moran with multiple M names.
Yeah.
He's played by Bill Galligan, who only has this and a 1990 sex movie called $20 Star on his resume.
This is what you texted me about last night.
Yes. $20 Star is about a famous Hollywood actress who moonlights as a $20 hooker by night, just for the thrill of it.
She's
looking for passion, according to the poster. What?
There are a lot of those movies where it's like, women, like famous starlets who moonlight as hookers just because they like the thrill of it.
I heard Katie Holmes did that.
Was a hooker?
Just for the thrill of it.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Actually, I heard Meryl Streep did it.
I know for a fact Meryl Streep did it. So anyway, Mongo is short, like Alfred. He has 2 years in Chicago with the Golden Gloves, so he knows the shit. Also, he looks mean.
He literally has huge muscles. He's a
very
big
athletic
guy.
Yes. Knight is excited that Alfred finally put down the butterfly net and is playing a man's sport. Then he laughs when Chip says he's tougher than he looks. One of those fake laughs that bullies do in the early 80s a lot. Mm-hmm. Knight cracks wise about how Miss Piggy is tougher than Alfred looks. And then Buzz, and he talk about how they wish gambling was allowed. Weird. I wonder if that's going to come into play.
I know. Well, again, it's like the writer, Jerry Mayer, couldn't figure out how other business for any of these other characters to remain involved in Alfred's very thin plot. So he devised this phony gambling thing so that everyone has stakes now in Alfred's fight.
Then Crispin Glover pops his head in to say that Major Dorsey has a telephone call.
So you watched this last night and you texted me and you said, "Oh, Crispin Glover has a cameo." And I was like, Jesus Christ, why? I was like, why on earth is he on this? When did Back to the Future come out?
84.
Okay, so he was still
85,
working.
I think. But it was made in 84.
In any case, he says nothing. He says, "Hey, you have a phone call."
Yeah, that could have been Chip. Give Chip some more business. He needs it.
Literally anything else. And also, you said, again, this is another testament to my face blindness. Like, I actually know that Crispin Glover is a weird looking man. Like, he is has an unusual face. Yes. And I kept I was like, is it the guy who came in that played the bugle? Is that him? And you were like, no. And I was like,
I was like, that's Knight. We met him on the Academy 1.
And I was like, is it the nurse?
Yeah.
Is it the woman?
He's that talented.
Is that Crispin Glover? And then you were like, no. And it was the dude who literally just said, hey, you have a phone call.
Yep. Crispy's currently on American Gods playing Mr. World, but he's probably best known for Back to the Future. Best loved, though, by me for his solo album. I don't know if you've heard it.
No.
Very good. And also Willard. Oh, I love Willard. Have you seen Willard?
No.
Oh, you need to see Willard.
I have seen American Gods, though. I watched a few episodes of that. It was too annoying to keep watching because Neil Gaiman is actually kind of an annoying writer. In any case, the best thing, though, that happens in the pilot of American Gods, which I would recommend just Googling to find the clip, is the actor who plays Freddie Rumsen, who was the fall down drunk on Mad Men, who I can never remember his actual name. He has a sex scene with a god named Bilquis, who's this very erotic Black woman, very sexy. And he's like, I'm so excited. I'm so excited. And then they start having sex. And then a full adult grown man, she sucks him into her vagina. That's how they have sex.
Something similar almost happened to me once, which is kind of how I ended up with this life as a homosexual. They got suction.
Yeah, they do.
They got suction, man.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so with Major Dorsey gone, will the boys set a wager?
Yeah.
The answer is yes.
Yeah.
Immediately.
But again, it's that like just the structure of the episode just could have been better, you know?
Oh, you think?
No, in that he has a phone call. They need to get him off set so that he has the call with the general, Alfred's dad, who's calling to say, I'm not coming. And then he gets pissed off at the general and it's like, you missed the science fair. You missed the Christmas pageant. What aren't you going to miss? You're a bad father. And then you clearly hear on the other end, like, basically he's like, I know you outrank me. Okay, I'll deliver the bad news anyway.
So fucked up.
Yeah.
And
but
also
again,
so weird that we had to have this special scene at a payphone.
It's sort of how they use Mrs. Garrett. And that it's like Mrs. Garrett always becomes the conduit for terrible news to be given to the little girls.
It's the fourth time that General Webster has, flaked on his son.
Yeah.
And I do like, they later on define two of them. And as you said, the Christmas pageant and with the art show.
No,
and it was funny.
Science fair.
Science fair. They were
Here's the thing. If I were a military general, if I were a general in the United States Army or Navy or whatever, do I think I would cut out from official military duty to go to a science fair?
Only if you loved your son.
But as he points out, when he hangs up the phone, he goes, if they don't want kids, why have them? Yes.
It was very dramatic. It was interesting. But then Sphincter is there.
Yeah.
To be like, you want to talk about it?
So it's like, he goes, I don't know, sir, but you want to talk about it? And he's like, get the fuck out of my face, Sphincter. I got to go deliver bad news.
Yeah.
And Sphincter's like, okay, I'm going to go fall over. Like, it's like he's there for no reason.
He is there for no reason. It's so shitty that he just called and he could have asked for his son.
No.
He could have.
He could have.
Same amount of effort. His son was right next to him. If Crispin Glover had just said, it's General Webster on the phone for you, this whole plot is different. Alfred's like, I'll grab it. And then Webster's fucked. He's like, shit. Not coming. I don't like you.
Yeah.
Anyway, Dorsey, full aware of the difference of his rank, still yells at General. Then blah, blah, blah. Sphincter does his thing. Dorsey doesn't talk to nerds. So Dorsey heads back to the gym where Nurse Big Boobs tells Alfred he's gained 8 pounds from the Big Macs.
I mean, in like one day.
Yeah.
How many Big Macs did he eat?
I don't know. I mean, like, I can definitely house 2, and I don't think that my weight moves.
Maybe it's water weight.
Oh, that's true.
Because
Maybe
of all of the salt in the Big Macs.
You know what? I've been buying a lot of eggnog lately.
Oh, you've been buying a lot of eggnog? Well, 'tis the season.
I love all different kinds of eggnogs. I love original eggnog, absolutely. Star of the show. But I love the flavored ones. And a couple years ago, we had sugar cookie. We had red velvet ones. There's not so many. There's always pumpkin. I don't really care about that one. I think it overwhelms it.
No.
But they have a vanilla one, which
I thought eggnog was basically vanilla already.
No. Vanilla eggnog is its own thing that just tastes like thick, sweet, heavy cream. It's its own thing, and I didn't know that. I would never buy it all on its own either. But vanilla eggnog was on clearance at my supermarket, and it was small, and I was like, I could definitely do this. So I got it, and I took one swig, and I was like, holy shit, this is tasty. So now I've been buying vanilla eggnog that's not expiring, and in bigger cartons, and just standing in my underwear in front of the refrigerator, just chugging it. And that, let me tell you, will gain a lot of weight. So I think that maybe he's been having some eggnog because it is December.
True.
Anyway, so so he's no longer a welterweight anymore, which means he's now boxing Mongo. And the audience just woos, and Alfred goes, Mongo? And then the audience applauds.
I know.
There's too much audience interaction in that moment.
And then, so we're out of that scene, right?
Yeah, we're out of that scene, and we're out of that act, thankfully.
But where do we start the next scene?
Well, now it's 58 minutes to fight, and we're in the same location, right?
Yeah, we're at the gym. We're still in the gym.
But Alfred spent all night in a steam bath to lose weight, but he still won 38, so he lost 2 pounds. I don't know what the welterweight category is, but like I would say a laxative would do it.
Yeah, a laxative would do it. Speaking of, so I just thought about toilets. I had something that I wanted to discuss with you.
Oh, please do.
Because so you have been having, which our listeners might be interested in hearing about. You've been having a saga with your toilet.
Oh, we're gonna really go there. You're just gonna put me on blast like that.
Well, you just said that you've been cleaning your toilet for a while, right? Because
I didn't tell the audience that, but yes, I had a rusty toilet, and I was trying to get the rust off, and I used a lot of chemicals. And now you all know about my life.
Okay, so here's what was going on in my house today, which is why I brought up your toilet situation, is that we in our house have a toilet situation, which longtime listeners would know probably because it's been mentioned that I have extremely loud plumbing.
Yes, it moans for about 45 seconds after somebody flushes, just like in pain.
It does. Anyway, so the toilet started kind of leaking and being weird because it's because I think from the moaning of the pipes became a little loose. And so my husband was like, I'm going to roll up my sleeves and I'm going to do some man work, and like cleaned it and tightened it and re-caulked it. There was a lot of caulking going on in this house today.
I know you love that word.
And he was like, and so he got some of the caulk on his hands, and I was watching. I was watching The Facts of Life while this was happening when he got caulk all over his hands, and he said, and I had my earbuds in, and he said, "Hey, can you help? Can you?" And he screamed, and I was like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm watching The Facts of Life. I'm sorry, you need my help right now? I'm busy." And he said, "Help, I need to get this caulk off my hands. I need to get this caulk off my hands. And can you just Google real quick how to get caulk off your hands?" And so, of course, I did. And you want to know how you get caulk off your hands?
Please tell me.
Butter and baking soda.
Did it work?
And it worked. Anyway, the other funny thing that happened is that, I was like, I need to take it. I was like, are you done in there? And he was like, yes, everything's great, blah, blah, blah. I did a lot of caulking in here. And I said, I know, you've been in there for a long time caulking. And he said, okay, but if you need to use the toilet, can you just use it very delicately? And I thought,
we know about your big dumps.
And I thought, I was like, what do you think how am I going to use the toilet violently?
I like to just get at it from a high angle.
Drop down on it and just shake it around like I'm in a space capsule.
Start backwards like you're,
yes.
And then swivel around.
Yeah.
And
I was like, we've been married for a while, Peter. Like, what on earth do you think I've been doing in there? And he was like, no, I didn't mean to imply anything. I just want you to use the toilet gently.
It's sage advice.
It is. To all of our listeners, use your toilets gently.
Yes.
Okay.
Facts of Lovelies. Love your toilets. So anyway.
We open up and we're still in the gym.
Yes. So Buzz says it's too late for Weight Watchers. Speaking of which, Natalie enters to rapturous applause.
Oh my
which
God,
tells me,
so much applause.
It tells me that they did not film this on the Facts of Life set. I assumed because of maybe they did. No, they could have.
No.
I like that's why we didn't see the cafeteria. That could have been what the boxing ring area was. But the audience certainly was not a Facts of Life audience because they were thrilled.
They were like, oh my God.
We went to see a taping of Facts of Life and it was a nightmare.
And all these strangers were there. I didn't know who any of these people were. And then Natalie, the worst person who's on the Facts of Life, shows up and everyone was ecstatic because it was finally it was like, oh my God, thank God, a familiar face. It was like being at a party where you don't know anyone. And they're all the worst people. Little fat girl with the little fat girl tits, and all of those guys that look identical, aside from Chip.
Boys are trying to pinpoint Mongo's weakness, and they've come up with spelling. It is weird that they applauded Natalie on her own show. But anyway,
because they didn't know that anyone was going to show up from Facts of Life.
Must have been so happy. So the boys leave Natalie and Alfred to have some very awkward hellos, and then Alfred offers Natalie to sit out the fight that she's traveled to see. They can just do their date later, but no, she's interested. She's going to write an article about the humiliation for her school paper, which she still works on despite having faked that abortion a couple of weeks back.
And having been fired, having to have had to resign from the newspaper.
Yes, it's going to be called Guts in the Afternoon for some reason.
Okay.
Alfred says it's a catchy title. It is not.
Okay. Do you know what that is?
Please, enlighten.
So I was like, what the fuck is this? Right? And I Googled it, Guts in the Afternoon, and Google said, did you mean Guns in the Afternoon? And I said, yes, I did mean Guns in the Afternoon, clearly, because that's what this is a reference to, which is a reference to the 1962 Western, which was released in the United States with the title Ride the High Country, but released internationally as Guns in the Afternoon. An obscure Western film from 1962 that was not released domestically with this title is this reference that Natalie, a 14-year-old girl, is making about her fake little boyfriend's boxing match. Very, very normal. The other thing is that Guns in the Afternoon starred Randolph Scott, who was an extremely handsome Western star, who met Cary Grant on the set of some film, and they moved in together, and they called it like that they lived together in Bachelor Hall, and everyone was like, "Yeah, Bachelor Hall, mm-hmm." Yeah. But anyway, But Randolph Scott was married twice. So, in any
I've
case,
made love to people who've been married twice.
to women. But in any case, it's such a bizarre, like, this is where we went.
Yes.
Even so, I would say that I'm a cinephile, but I didn't know the reference Guns in the Afternoon. Google had to help me. This was written in 1982. And he was making a reference to a movie that came out 20 years earlier. Who is this for?
It's a good question. Nobody. That's why they didn't make any more of them. It's weird that Buzz didn't ask, how's my old pal Joe? Nothing. He just left.
No.
Mongo enters with his arms visible.
Oh, and it was Suns Out, Guns Out. Like, they were, like, he is ripped.
Yes, Natalie felt so too. And then Mongo slipped on a river of Natalie's discharge. She was just like, whoa.
Well, that's one of the 200 people.
Alfred.
That's one of the 200 dudes that she's planning on blowing later.
Clearly. I think that's number one on the list right now.
Mm-hmm.
Alfred admits he's got to fight the guy, and Natalie thinks he's joking until he sees Alfred's dead inside. And then she's like, oh, no.
Yeah.
Nat points out that Mongo looks very unpleasant and unhelpfully asks if Alfred's scared, which, yes, he is. And Nat's eager to start their date now because she didn't travel all this way to get a guy with no lips to make out with her. But he's going through with his plan.
Yeah.
His dad didn't fly 300 miles to see Alfred run from a flight. Ooh. His dad didn't fly 300 miles at all.
No, and then Natalie's like, your father wants you to do this?
Yes. It's kind of fucked up that Dorsey
being
still
raised
hasn't
by
said
a
anything.
sadist? What's happening? No father
it
would ever
sounds like
want
he
you.
was.
Well, yeah.
Yes, Nat points out that Alfred sounds crazy. Alfred points out that he's a sexist piece of shit by saying that a woman couldn't understand what he's going through. He says she doesn't even have to watch him train. She agrees. She's fed up with him. She's going to go outside and take pictures of the cannon. Heyo, there's only one thing on this girl's mind.
Yeah.
Also, why is he training 45 minutes before a fight? Is that how it works?
No.
I did not think so either.
If anything, right? So with any sporting event, right, you are supposed to rest so that your muscles are completely like, they have no lactic acid in them at all. So that
I know, that's why I rest before I do this podcast. I'm not doing any other podcasts before this. I stretch, rest,
carbo load, drink your eggnog to keep hydrated.
Dorf drinks eggnog.
Yeah.
Filming at my house. Back in the locker telephone room thing, I'd be making so many unnecessary calls. They're just like, hi, how's it going? Good. Hank, Chip, and Buzz discuss how they can't let Alfred fight. They head into the gym after a joke-free 30-second scene and find Alfred just staring at Mongo, curling some dumbbells, as I would too. So would you, apparently. Like, total weirdo, just staring at him. Just like I would be in the phone room locker lounge. Knight tries to introduce Mongo to Alfred Golden Gloves 1980 meet, Dead Meat 1982. Oh, how they laughed.
I know.
At this point, I was like, maybe I should take another nap.
Yeah. And then, is this where, so Knight picks up a medicine ball?
Yes, it is.
And
Dorsey and Mongo show up.
He's like, we gotta, and he's like, Mongo, he's like, come here, man. Like, let's show them what you're made of, you know? And then he punches the medicine ball and knocks Knight over. Again, I'm not an expert in fitness, but that is not how you use that.
I don't know how you use it, so that was just like, oh yeah, that's the ball that you use to punch while it's against your stomach.
No, a medicine ball is something that you use by yourself. Like you use, it's basically a weight. It helps you tone all the other the parts of your body that doing like this bicep curls won't.
Got it.
It's not to be used to be punched, and so it's just everything is wrong.
So Hank comes up with a plan to have Alfred pretend to be sick without Alfred's consent. Just grabs Nurse Babs and starts playing up how nauseous and shaky Alfred was last night.
Yeah.
Everybody jumps in. He's got the flu, typhoid, his freckles are disappearing, which means he's a bleeder, apparently. This goes on until Major Dorsey, now in uniform, enters to no salutes.
No salutes. However, let me just go back for 1 second. So the only reason I wanted to bring this up is because we are currently in a pandemic, and I just wanted to do a little germ-splaining about typhoid. So you've heard the term Typhoid Mary, right?
And you are going to be Typhoid Britt now.
Well, no, I'm just saying. So Typhoid Mary was Mary Mallon. So typhoid is it's sort of like the flu. It's a form you get it from salmonella. Basically, you shit yourself, you get the shakes, it can kill you. But we have a vaccine for it now. In any case,
I don't trust vaccines.
No, of course not. But
I'm kidding. Everybody get your vaccination.
Please get the vaccine. Please get the vaccine so that we can leave the house. So Typhoid Mary is named Typhoid Mary because she was known as the first asymptomatic person carrier of a disease, which in the U.S., which was a new way of understanding how things can get transmitted, because usually, much like COVID, a lot of people who carry it are asymptomatic. In any case, Typhoid Mary gave it to 53 people, and because she was a cook and a housekeeper. But 3 of those people died. What?
And a lady of the night.
Yes. But also, yeah, so please don't be the Typhoid Marys of your communities. Facts of life.
You also don't want to spread yellow fever, which is the only disease that Alfred is sick with. Is that racist?
No, yellow fever exists.
But it means your yellow belly chicken liver.
Right.
But I don't really understand
Or if it is racist, it means that you fancy people of Asian descent, and that is a racist thing to say.
Yes, that's the one I guess I was thinking of, and I was like, I'm confused here. Anyway, Alfred tries to protest, saying he's felt worse, but then Mongo does a big scary punch, and Alfred backtracks, says he's also felt better. Dorsey finally has the balls to tell Alfred the bad news at the fucking worst time possible. Just
1 minute. 1 minute before he's supposed to fight. He's like, hey man, can we go all the way back to your bedroom, have this intimate conversation about what being a man is like?
Yeah, no, that was in Dorsey's office, which I didn't think
that was in his office?
Yeah, I don't think it was necessary to have built an extra set for it for 30 seconds, but yes, that is what they did for some strange reason. It could have been the bedroom that they just put in some chairs and the desk.
Right.
Anyway,
so he's like, basically Dorsey's just like, your dad's not coming. And, he delivers the bad news. And again, sort of like the Mrs. Garrett, has to comfort him. Right. And, and he goes, but he tries to sort of deflect, and he goes, you know how busy generals are. Yeah, they are. And Alfred's like, well, he wasn't here for the science fair, and he wasn't here for the Christmas show either. You'd think he'd be here to see me get my brains bashed in.
You would think he would like that.
You would think. Finally, Alfred got the notice that his dad doesn't give a shit about science or Christmas and just wants to see him get the shit kicked out of him.
Yes.
A high risk activity. Yeah. Would probably get most parents notice.
Not this one.
Not this one.
So Dorsey asks what Alfred's going to do, and Alfred says he's going to fight.
And he goes, you can change your mind. And he goes, but that would be chickening out. And then Dorsey says, it's called making your own decisions, Alfred. They are at a military academy. This is a place where nobody makes their own decisions. No one. They are taught to not make decisions.
Yes, also Dorsey does seem to be trying to persuade him to do something.
Yeah.
He's trying to make a decision for him.
Yeah.
But I feel like Alfred's like, no. If I'm going to get anything out of this, it's that Natalie's going to feel sorry for me and blow me. She's hot to trot already. We got to do this.
Suck on my penis a little bit.
Yeah.
Because that's going to be the part of me that's not going to be injured. Because there's no hitting below the belt.
Dorsey tells Alfred to fight if he wants to, but if he's not doing it for himself, he shouldn't do it at all. And then we get to the fight. Grusky is there with no shirt on. He's awkwardly hairy. 25-year-old guy. Just, I feel like you really like showed your hand now. He looks way older than Alfred. Now that I've seen both of them shirtless back to back.
But I will say this, that I didn't expect to see two shirtless young men in this show. Three. Oh, well, yes, of course, with Mongo, right?
Yeah, but you liked that one.
Of course I liked that one.
Perfect.
But again, why did they do this? They could have just put them in, like, shirts. They could have put them in singlets. They could have made it a different sport. You know, it could have been wrestling. They could have been
badminton.
It could have been badminton, you know, whatever. But it's like, no. We want to make sure this is what's going to hook our audience. This is what's going to...
So Hank's legs. By the way, I looked up Jimmy Bayo. I just put in Jimmy Bayo image search. There's so many funny pictures of him with like no shirt on and like a red leather jacket and like Teen Beat magazine and like 81's being like, this is great.
You mean you looked at your own wall?
I don't have Jimmy Bayo on my wall.
I have a full body cutout by my door.
I have a full body Smurf cutout. That's the only cutout I have here. Anyway, and he sleeps next to me in bed every night. So anyway, Sphincter is getting beaten up and taken out of the ring. He asks who won. The audience goes crazy because I think that's the first attempt at a joke this whole episode.
I thought the bugle rubbing my bugle was a joke.
I feel like everybody was like, oh. It just felt like fact. Like, I'm going to go rub one out, guys. Bye. Natalie enters with Alfred wearing a robe, and I wrote, which concerns me because I think we're going to see Alfred shirtless.
Yeah.
Natalie is begging him not to do the fight. She offers to talk to him about lizards, but which has to be code for blowjob. But no, he won't listen.
Yeah. He gets in the ring, and Hank and Buzz go to psych Mongo out by saying to him, like, did you sign up for physics? And he's like, I certainly did sign up for physics. And they're like, well, it's really, really difficult. No one can get above a D in that class. And you know who you're going to need a D from to get a D? Alfred. Because Alfred's the smartest one here. So don't hit him in the face.
He's the winner of the Albert Einstein Think-Alike contest. The fuck is that? Yeah. Anyway, they tell him to carry him, make him look good, take a dive. Mongo, also shirtless and looking fine, I wrote, has to chew on this for a bit. Dorsey announces the fight, and Mongo gets some applause, but then the crowd goes crazy for Alfred, which kind of surprised me, considering what a nerd he is. I didn't expect him to have so much love from the crowd.
Me neither.
And Knight plays taps on an imaginary bugle. Yeah. Dorsey lays out the rules of the fight, and it begins. Alfred does some weak-ass punching. Mongo just stands there like a weirdo.
Wait. So, please. I actually have a distinct memory of no robe on Alfred. He was wearing a weird scarf that concealed his nipples.
At first, he came out with a robe. Then, when you see him, he has a towel over his nipples.
He changed into the towel scarf.
They were like, can we show my nipples as little as possible? And they were like, all right, so for like when you're not fighting, you can have like a towel, just cover them just gently.
Okay. So then he does end up, he starts dancing around in the ring because the
jiggling and stuff. It's terrible.
He's play acting. He's like kind of shadow boxing. Like he's trying to act, he's trying to, float like a butterfly and sting like a bee, like Muhammad Ali style. Like he's just sort of like bouncing around, like kind of tapping at Mongo, being like, oh shit, I'm actually good at this. Because Mongo's like, yeah, I'm not fighting you, dude. I'm not going to do this. And he's like, boop, 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 boop. And he gets his confidence up.
Yeah, he taps his belly button the way my cat taps mine in the morning.
Yeah, everyone in the audience is going nuts. And by nuts, I mean extremely surprised at what is happening, that Alfred is actually beating this extremely fit, sturdy person who looks like a bodybuilder.
Yes. Knight is shouting for Mongo to kill, but Mongo just stands there.
Yeah.
Alfred throws a big but weak punch, and then Mongo finally retaliates with a big and strong punch, knocking Alfred to the ground.
Yes. But, I will say that, I didn't actually expect to see this fight.
Well, that's the Academy for you. That's not the facts of life.
Because they talked about this fight so much that I was like, it's not going to happen. No, we're not going to see it. We're not going to see it. Alfred's going to be like, actually, it's worth more to me to be smart and not have brain damage than to fight for my dad who didn't even show up. I thought that was going to be the message. No, he gets hit in the face. He falls down. Everyone's excited because it's like, oh shit, he actually did it. Right?
Yes, Mongo won. Dorsey, for some reason, has pit stains out of nowhere.
It was very exciting.
I imagine watching two half-naked boys fight. I guess makes them sweaty. Mongo very respectfully says, "No hard feelings. See you in physics class." And Alfred's pretty cool with it. Nat rushes up to him. He's too disoriented to see where her beautiful voice is coming from, but she was impressed.
Yeah.
Looks like he's going to find out why they call her the queen.
Mm-hmm.
And he says he did it for himself, not for anyone else. Mm-hmm. And Dorsey says the important thing is that you're your own man, and Alfred corrects him. And he says, no, the important thing is that he'll never have to make this backdoor pilot again.
Mm-hmm.
The audience applauds because that is great news for everybody.
So Natalie's like, basically Natalie being a weird, raging narcissist at this point is like, oh, so did you do it for me? Who'd you do it for? And she's like, you did it to impress me, right? Because I'm here and I'm wet. So, I mean, that was pretty amazing. Should we go make out? I'll kiss you better. And he's like, I didn't do it for you. I did it for, and everyone's like, did you do it for your dad? And it's like, he's like, no, I did it for me. And then he puts his arm around Natalie and they walk out, and that's the freeze frame. And all I could think about was how close Natalie's face is to that man's armpit. It was like 3 inches, and it's like right there. And it's like, all I can think about is it's like a 15-year-old kid under hot, live television acting, lights, having to act.
I know. I mean, we know Dorsey had pit stains.
And how hot it is in there. And her face is nestled inside of his wispy little armpit hairs.
I don't even think he had armpit hair.
Like death.
I'm sure it smelled terrible.
That was the lasting impression of this episode, of his little girl tits and his armpits.
Yes, I'm just glad that it's behind us. We don't have too many more backdoor pilots. Couple. One of them I like. I actually like one. But yeah, that's it for that episode. So now we have episode 10 of season 4 coming up. It's called For the Asking. Natalie may end up being the odd woman out when she boycotts a school dance. I know, another Natalie episode. Your favorite.
God. It's like, why can't they just space him out?
They usually do. This is
Natalie
surprising.
Was barely in this, and it already felt like there was too much of her.
All right. Well, I was really looking forward to hearing your take on this one, because it's such a piece of garbage. Who likes this episode? Nobody. Nobody.
Which is, it's so funny. It's that, I actually, once we do watch all of the backdoor pilots, right? Of which, to be honest, the pilot of this is in a backdoor pilot, is it not? Right?
It is.
We should rank all of them, because nothing can be worse Then what is it? Was it Dan and Sylvia?
Brian and Sylvia.
Brian and Sylvia. That one was shocking. This one, as I've said many times before, this was Shakespeare. This was Hamlet.
That's because we experienced it already. We were primed for it. And really, there's no way to prime you for Brian and Sylvia.
No, there isn't. It really was a surprise.
Yeah, it is surprising. All right. Well, anything else you want to add before we say goodbye?
Thank God I never need to see Alfred again and his little nipples.
You don't. All right. Well, my lovelies, thank you so much. And we will be back next week with a new, fresh hell for Britt to analyze. Until then, hasta la pasta. I'm trying things out. New background, new sign off. Peace.